Welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of December 20th, 2010. Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates that. And we're going to have another Ask Video Mail before the new year. So I will wish everyone a new year. Happy New Year again then, but also Happy New Year to everyone. End of the year is always very exciting. I love I love being on vacation. That's a nice thing. Hopefully everyone is with their family and friends and enjoying your vacation, and you're already on holiday. So don't forget about the referral championship, the Ultra Mega Referral Championship, to be precise. There are still very, very low numbers in the lead in terms of number of referrals, and you win a free lifetime membership to KennyRoy.com if you have the most referrals by January 1st. So I will be notifying the lucky winner on January 1st, whoever has the most referrals. And don't forget, referral is very easy to do. All you do is have the person that you refer put your username, spelled correctly, make sure that happens, but put your username into the sign up, the subscription form when they sign up, and you are instantly, automatically, beautifully, all done behind the scenes, given your free time on the site. So if you have someone that signs up for the monthly, then you get 30 days free. If they sign up for the 3-month, you get 30 days free as well. But if they sign up for a year in advance, you get 60 days free. So 2 months free just for having someone sign up, and there's no limit to how many referrals you can give. So please refer your friends and tell them about how the site is growing and the great community that we have in the forums. I love the forums. The forums are going great, and everyone seems very supportive of each other. So that's fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. Let's see, news? No news. Actually, a little bit of news. Everyone, if you could, cross your fingers if you believe in superstition. I am trying to close on funding for Arconix Animation Studios' first feature film, and I will be giving obviously more details on that in the news and in these videos if that does happen. So please cross your fingers for me. And ooh, exciting, right? Okay. So this is the Ask Video Mail for the week of December 20th, 2010, and here is the question. Animation layers are a very interesting topic because it's a very technical topic, but at the same time it allows you to, once you get past the technical aspects of it, really access some very time-saving tools and some very, very innovative tools for layering your animation. So we all know about the difference between a straight-ahead approach and a layered approach. Basically, straight ahead is you're putting everything that's going to be in the final animation, hopefully, right, in blocking with your key poses, with your in-betweens and breakdowns. You're basically creating you're taking iterative steps towards the finished product by editing basically poses. And those poses are supposed to be as close as possible, whereas a layered approach is more like you do passes. So you might have, let's say you have a walk cycle, okay? You might do the legs just moving, and then you might have the hips moving, right? Or the waist, like basically just the waist. And then you might go back and add the overlap on the waist. And then you might go back and add the overlap on the spine, okay? Then you might add the arm swinging. All right, so that's a layered approach. Now, normally in animation, we are constrained by the fact that we have one true layer that we're working on. And in Maya and in all other programs that do have animation layers, this applies to everybody. When you have more than one animation layer, what you access is a way to create layered animation that is non-destructive to any other animation. And why that's fantastic is because you can create, for instance, variety in a cycle. So for instance, not for games, but for a feature film, for instance, if you're given a walk cycle, you can put something on top of that walk cycle very easily by using layers, and it won't interrupt your cycle. So say, for instance, you guys remember in the cycle Ask Video Mail that I recorded that I was saying that if you're going to create variety, you can't have like someone walking, for instance, and then like raise their hand on every single step, because that's going to absolutely pop out. It's going to look terrible. Whereas with layered animation, you can have a cycle on one layer that maybe that's given to you by your supervisor or tech, an animator that's doing these and giving them out to the whole show. And then you can take that and on top of it add, that little wave. So they can be walking and you can add that wave and then they can go back to walking using these animation layers, completely non-destructive to the rest of the animation. And that's fantastic. That's just really a great way to add variety quickly. And so I said innovative tools because you do have to kind of innovate just a little bit in terms of how you're going to create the animation. If it's a run cycle and those arms are swinging extremely quickly, then it's probably a good idea to put those arms on a separate layer if you want to have the character turn and wave. Why? Because you're going to have to counter animate. That hand that's coming up to wave is going to be going like this, and you're going to try to have a wave and it's not going to be exactly what you want it to be. So if you have the body running on one layer and then those arms on another layer, you can key the value of the weight of that animation layer, meaning that if you're running, you dial that weight down to 0, the arms are going to go back to T-pose or go back to still. So you, in that section, that's when you can, on a new animation layer for those arms, create just the waving animation and then go back to T-pose basically in that wave. And then by keying the layers themselves, have animation with the body doing what it does, with the arm animation layer, with the run, dialing down to 0 weight, coming up to that wave animation, and then dialing it back up to a weight of 1 on those arm swinging animation. Now, if you don't understand anything I just said, it's very simple. I'll show you exactly what to do. Okay, so here we go. I've created this walk cycle. It's basically a person who's extremely sad. He's walking and he's totally bummed. He's just plodding down the sidewalk, okay? Now, we want to have him turn towards us and wave. Now, what I've done is I've created this walk cycle on animation layer 1. And so if you turn it off, you can see, and I hit play, absolutely nothing happens. Okay, that's because we've muted that animation layer. And this is the same again in almost all packages. Motion Builder, Maya, Softimage has this. Is it Softimage or? I'm sure 3D Studio Max has this. There's a lot of different names for things, but you should be able to find what you need in the software of your choice, okay? So, and if we select all these, you'll see that this really is a cycle. Okay, so I'm going to view infinity here, and you can see that all these things are cycling. Let's fix this right here. Okay, so you can see that here's our cycle. It goes on and on and on and on and on forever. Now again, one of the problems with adding some custom animation to a cycle is that it's destructive to the cycle. If you are walking and you add that one wave right here, then every single cycle it's going to have that wave, and you can't have that kind of contrast. It'll take a person right out, right? So that's why animation layers are great, because of that non-destructive aspect. So all of a sudden cycles become very valuable once again. Okay, hope that makes sense. So I've added that animation, the walk cycle animation, to animation layer 1. And if we want more animation layers, I just select the controls that I want to be in that layer, and I would hit this button, which is create layer from selected objects. Okay, so I'm going to just select the upper torso and the hand controls. I'm going to get rid of these facial controls. We don't need those. And There, I just created a new animation layer. Now again, if I mute this one and select my new animation layer 2, first of all, if I create keys on this layer, I'm going to be able to turn them on and off, which is just awesome and fantastic, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to set a key right here. I'm going to set a key, let's say turning to screen right or his left, and then I'm going to bring it back. Okay, so we have this animation where the head just turns from left to right. Okay, or from screen left to screen right, rather. Okay, now let's see if I unmute this, what happens. We have our walk cycle, and look, his head turns from screen left to screen right. See that? Okay. Now, what's awesome is since I'm editing this layer, okay, and since I'm going to lock these other layers, since I'm only able to change the animation on layers that are, or controls that are in this layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is exactly where I want it in the animation. So I'm going to find where I want it in the animation. So let's say he takes like 4 steps forward. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these keyframes and move and see, look, the ones that are not the ones I can edit, those stay put. I'm going to move them to where I want it to happen. So let's have it happen like around frame like 80. Okay. So here we go. He's walking, and then he turns and looks at us and then looks back down. Okay. Let's have it be a little bit snappier, and let's have it be a little bit more of a moving hold. Okay. Let's actually get into his eye line. Okay. And now I'm going to have him wave his hands. Okay. Now, one way that we can do this is we can make it so that the animation is basically on top of the animation that we have here. Another way is we can actually animate the weight of that layer. Okay, so if I just want really just an arm to just go up, all I'm looking for is just for the arm to go up, then I don't have to worry too much about the counter animation that's going to happen between that animation and my walk cycle animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this control here. I'm going to create a new layer from selected. Now animation layer 3 is just my hand animation. Okay, and there are no keyframes here, as you can see. And in fact, let me just turn off everything and show you once again that there's absolutely nothing here on this animation. Okay, so I'm going to go back and look at my cycle right here, and then I'm going to, when he looks at us, I'm going to have him raise his hand. All right, like that. Set that key. Okay. Now look, his hand is up there. So instead of animating his hand back down into position and having this animation layer affect the whole animation, or the animation as a whole, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually animate the layer itself. So all I have to do is go to my animation layer and set a key on the weight and bring it down to 0. Then it goes up to 1 where that first key was set, and then let's bring it back down to 0 after that action is done. And now what happens is my character is walking with that walk cycle, the head looks, the hand waves, and it all goes back down to normal. Okay, so animation layers can be very powerful. They can be great tools to use if you want to add some customization to a walk cycle. They can be a new way, a faster way, and a more kind of intuitive way to layer your animation. So, for instance, literally build the walk cycle from animation layers. And you might want to consider doing that next time you have say 5 or 6 shots in a row where you have a character who's walking down the street and they're describing something. You may want to have the entire walk cycle in their body just all the way up to the shoulders keyed, and then the arms on a completely blank animation layer. because if they're describing things, they're probably going to be using their hands and pointing and gesturing and doing those kinds of things, and that would be great to be able to put right on top of your walk cycle non-destructively and get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of using the tools the way they were meant to be used. I would say that for the most part, you don't want to animate or create animation layers arbitrarily. It is really kind of a new process that you need to think about and plan ahead for, but it can be very powerful if you use it correctly. So thank you for that great question. This was a lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to use, and I'm just, again, I can't stop expressing how happy I am to have everyone on the site, and how wonderful the community feels, and how much fun I'm having making these videos and doing a little bit of training. So please keep it up. If you'd like to have your question answered in an Ask Video Mail, just send your question to webmaster@kennyroy.com with the subject Ask Video Mail, and I will get right to it. Okay? Thanks again, everybody. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.